Hey everybody, Joseph Lowe here at Pure PT Supply. Today we're going to talk everything Facebook ads. And before I get into the nitty gritty and kind of walk you through an ad account and a company that I follow, Cash Pay Physical Therapist, that does a really, really good job doing ads on his own, I wanted to talk about numbers because that's the most important part of this equation. I see so many agencies, you know, advertising all the skills they have when it comes to running ads and whatnot. And even if that's true, there are some businesses and some offers that are just not profitable. For instance, if I was selling a $5 or $10 resistance band and trying to run Facebook ads, there is no margin. It's impossible to make money selling something that cheap and inexpensive, given how expensive Facebook ads are these days. Back when I was in high school, I was selling Dairy Queen t-shirts, making money on Facebook back when Facebook ads were, dirt cheap. You could sell anything and make money. Now, if I tried to sell a Dairy Queen t-shirt for $25 or $20 or $30, I would make no money. It's just borderline impossible given how much it costs to reach 1,000 people, given how many amazing companies are running ads, and also how much better the creative has gotten and how much competition there is. 5, 10 years ago, it was just static images and some basic videos. Now you have even small businesses with professionally edited videos, AI videos, images, like everything is just way better. So for your ads to stand out, they have to be awesome, but you have to have an offer that makes sense. So what I mean by that is I'm assuming most of the people watching are physical therapists. So if you're an insurance-based physical therapist, we'll get to cash pay later, but if you're an insurance-based physical therapist, you have to know your numbers inside and out before even considering running Facebook ads. So let's take a standard client, for example. So let's say you have you want to get new patients, and an average patient comes for 20 visits. Let's use that as a benchmark, and you're getting $100 in revenue per visit. That patient is worth $2,000 of top line revenue. Now you have to go through and subtract, deduct all your costs for supplies, employee expense, insurance and whatnot, and you might end up with 25 or 30 or 15, whatever your numbers look like. If you're making $20 a visit per patient, they come 20 times. That means that your net is $400. So if you want to run ads, you have to acquire customers for less than $400. And if you're spending, 200, 300, that means that you have almost no margin. Now, if those patients come back and the customer, lifetime value is pretty high, then okay, we can make that work. But most PT, insurance-based practices operate on super razor thin margins. And it doesn't matter what an advertising agency does. If the numbers aren't there, it's not possible. So we got to figure that out first. So before you even look at anything, write all your numbers down and figure things out. Now, when it comes to cash pay physical therapy, the reason it's way easier to run ads for a cash pay physical therapist is because almost all of them sell packages. And these packages range from $2,000 to $3,000 and up. The margins are way higher. They're not accepting insurance. Now, the conversion rate is going to be a little bit lower because less people want to spend $3,000 or have $3,000 to spend on physical therapy, but their margins are way higher. So they can afford to, spend $500 or $600 to acquire a customer because on a $3,000 package, their all-in cost as far as employee time and all that kind of stuff might only be, I don't know, $500, or even if it's $1,000, they have way more margin to work with. So, knowing your numbers is the key point. The person that I'm going to kind of track and share info from is a guy named Peter Yu. He owns Motion RX, which is a cash pay physical therapy clinic down around Tampa or Jacksonville, Florida. So keep that in mind as you're watching this. But he does a lot of good stuff. And again, he runs his own ads. So someone that I know is very successful, he's a friend of mine. He doesn't use an ad agency. And one of the benefits is when you do things on your own, you could go way faster. So instead of going back and forth with an agency and sending all these messages and whatnot, you get to make videos in your clinic. You can post them. You can see what's doing better. You can make adjustments. You also are not paying anyone, so you should have higher margins. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And what I want to start with is Facebook ad library. So for those of you who do not know, every ad that companies run on Facebook is public. So if you type in Facebook ad library on Google, you will come up to Facebook ad library, and all you have to do is type in the page name of the company that you want to look at. So this is MotionRx Performance Physical Therapy, again owned by my friend. You get to see all of the ads that are on here. You can see active ones and non-active ones. So if there's a company in your area that's doing really well, or you know of a physical therapist, whether it's insurance or cash pay that you want to emulate, all of this stuff is public. You can watch their videos. You can look exactly what their headlines say, their descriptions say, and their ad copy is. You can also see what their landing pages look like, what their lead forms look like. I mean, everything is public knowledge. So there's no excuse to say, I don't know how to run ads, or it's just something that you have to learn. Obviously, it has a learning curve like everything else, but if you're a small business owner and you're struggling to make money, spending $2,000 a month or more on an ad agency, that's a lot of money. And if you don't have a lot, or you want to be more profitable, this is a kind of a high leverage skill that you can learn to do on your own. And again, you can take that money that you were going to spend on an agency and put that back into Facebook ads to get even more customers. So again, ad library, you can find anything that you want on here. And for a physical therapy business, now this is obviously a cash pay business, which is different than insurance, but what you'll see for almost every PT, clinic in the country, cash pay or not, and I've run ads for some of them, is there's always some type of offer. So it might be a $69 runner's analysis. They're usually always tied to the kind of niche you're in. So if it's a shoulder analysis, a runner analysis, a workshop of some sort, it could be a free evaluation. It could be a $10 golf swing check. Like, it's always tied to something like that. And then the copy at the top is usually starts with something that has to do with to identify people in your area, because you're running local ads. So, hey, St. Pete runners, people in St. Pete, obviously where these ads are targeted, are gonna understand that. Or Jacksonville, of course, we're talking with the city of Jacksonville, struggling with shoulder pain. Something that has to do with pain is always going to be in the copy, because that kind of resonates with people. If they're in pain, they're going to read it. They're going to want to find a way out. And then again, this is where ChatGPT is great. Again, no excuse not to have good ad copy, because you can talk with ChatGPT and it can spit out amazing copy for you in 2 minutes. Go back and forth with it. Now, the more general you are with ChatGPT, the worse information you get. So, like, the prompt that you give should not just be, I have a physical therapy clinic, I need some ad copy. You should really drill down. It's, I'm a physical therapy, insurance or cash pay, clinic owner in, let's say, Washington, D.C. I see these types of patients that are generally male or female that are this age. Really give it as much information about your patient and your target audience, and say, this is the offer I have. This is what I'm looking to do. I have these lead forms. These are the questions that I'm going to ask this person. Get me ad copy that has the best chance of converting, and you'll get some pretty good answers. So now that you scroll through Facebook ad library, you can see, obviously, you can watch these videos if you want. And another thing is you can click on see ad details. So when you do that, you will see this close up, obviously, but you'll see additional assets from this ad. So what this is, and we'll get into this, when you run Facebook ads, you can split test a ton of different copy up here. You can split test different videos. You can also split test different headlines and descriptions. And you'll see that this particular ad goes to a Facebook lead form, or an instant form, as we call it. And you can even see the questions that are being asked. What are you looking to improve? And these are the answers that are given, or all the above. Where are you experiencing stiffness, pain when you run, et cetera, et cetera. It'll ask for their first name, last name, email, phone number. And then, of course, you'll see some terms. You can even click the links that these people see after they submit a form. Again, so if you want to track a successful company, or someone that is making money and doing things well, this is all public knowledge, and it can be replicated. Now, obviously, I'm all about integrity. You don't just want to copy somebody word for word and literally just hit copy paste from their ads. That's to put a little thought into it, but this gives you a framework for what's working. So after this, whoever these leads are, after they submit an instant form, it takes them to this page, which is sponsor redeemed on a first call basis, schedule your phone call back time below. So this just kind of helps lead flow a little bit in the sense that instead of having to reach out to them, they can schedule a time on their own, which of course is great because you're going to get more buy-in at that time. So Facebook ad library, look at pages or companies that you want to emulate, and you can see all the questions that they ask for, instant forms and whatnot. When it comes to creating campaigns, that's actually the easiest part. So I have a dummy account. I have a crap load of Facebook ad accounts in here, but this is a dummy one that has nothing in it. There is countless videos on YouTube that you can watch that say how to set up a Facebook lead campaign, or how to install a pixel, or how to create an instant form. Those are all things that you're going to have to do. So I'm not going to walk through each one of those individually, but the basic idea is we want to create lead campaigns. If you're a physical therapist or a physical therapy clinic owner or another small business, lead campaigns most of the time are what you're looking for. You're selling a service, even if you're selling, lawn care or, window washing or whatever the case is, you want leads, right? So you're going to hit create, which I've already done. But when you hit create, you're just going to select leads. So this is what it looks like after you select leads. Now you can name it. So we're just going to leave that as is. You don't have to worry about, buying type, leave the objective as leads. I always just select ad set budget when it goes to budget strategy. All this means is the campaign level is the highest level. So there's like a campaign, and then there's ad sets, which generally are it could be different targeting, or it could be kind of different objectives. And then there's an ad level where you actually design and create the physical ad, which is uploading a picture or uploading a video and doing all that stuff. I just do ad set budget because I like to, if an ad set is winning or doing better, I want to spend more money on that. I want to be able to split test stuff. So campaign budget can be used for larger accounts that spend a lot of money, but all the people watching this, that doesn't apply to you. So just have ad set budget. You don't have to declare any special ad categories, and that's all you got to do. So then when you hit next, this is where it looks overwhelming and you have a lot of decisions to make, but I can tell you it's very, very simple. So you're going to want to name this for whatever you're doing. So if you're running, say, a $69 or $79 eval offer for runners or whatever, you could just name it, $79 eval offer, creative one. Just put that there. Now, when you scroll down here to conversion location, this is Facebook asking you, where are you going to send the traffic? Where do you want these leads to go? And there's a massive debate about this among people that run ads and business owners. Couple notes on that. Instant forms is the cheapest way to get leads. So all instant forms is when you're on your phone and you see an ad, a lead ad, and you click on it, or it says learn more, and then a form pops up and it asks you some basic questions like your first name, your last name, just like some of the questions I went over that MotionRx asks you, like where are you in pain, basic stuff like that. That is a Facebook lead form. Now, the reason it's the cheapest option is because each additional step that you add in the customer journey, conversion rate goes down. As in, if you send someone to a website away from Facebook, you're going to have people that automatically leave. And then if they go from that website to somewhere else, you're going to have more people that leave. So, instant forms are the cheapest way to get numbers and names and leads for people to contact. That being said, because you're doing it this way, instant forms has the highest percentage of, fraud, you could say. Not fraud, but bogus leads, or people that are just, they just put their information in because it's saved. They don't even have to type anything in. They answer your questions, but Facebook has their name, first and last name, email, and phone number already auto-populated. So the quality of these leads would be lower than if you sent them to a landing page and made them enter all that information in on their own, because that's an extra step. But the pros almost always outweigh the cons. So if you're a small business owner, you want to be able to talk to as many people as possible. Just just know this going in, I guess getting started with this, that when you choose instant forms, you're going to get a lot of people that I would call as trash leads, as in they won't answer. They might not even remember they filled it out. They'll say that they never did anything, or that's just par for the course. I run a ton of lead ads and talk with a lot of business owners that do. That's what happens. But the upside is you're getting cheaper leads and your cost per conversion is going to be lower than if you sent these people to a landing page or whatnot. So just be ready for that. So you select instant forms and it's going to ask you, this is a bogus page, but it's going to ask you to, a few terms. Now, for performance goal, you can choose maximize number of leads or number of conversion leads. So generally speaking, I do this one, given that we're already using instant forms, which kind of attracts a lot of, I'll say a lot, but you get more bogus leads. So you don't just want the max number, you want the max number of conversion leads, people that actually share their information and talk to you. You don't have to worry about the bid strategy. You don't have to worry about value rules. Now, this is one setting that I use all the time, but it's completely up to you. Dynamic creative is, let's say that you have 5 Facebook like 5 videos that you film that you want to use for ads. They're all for the same offer. Like they're all for a $79 eval offer, but they're just a little bit different. You can turn dynamic creative on, and when we get to designing the ad, you can upload all of the videos at the same time and put a bunch of different, headlines and descriptions, and Facebook will run all of them simultaneously to kind of see which one performed best. And then it'll spend more money on that one. Now, if you want to just do it the basic way, which is where you have one video, one set of copy, a headline, the description, you can just leave that off. For daily budget, you can edit it here or you can wait and edit it later. Again, schedule, don't mess with this. You just want it to start whatever you want it to start. The only time you would set an end date is if, I'm in Facebook ads every day, but if you don't want to manage it, I guess, or even look at results and you want it to end, say November 30th, which is when your sale ends or whatever, you can do that. But I recommend no need for that. Now, when you get to the audience section, there's a ton of information on this and there's going to be tons of people that give you different insights, but Facebook now more than ever has gone away from maybe 5, 10, 7 years ago. Like I had to do a lot of work in the audience section as far as looking for people with certain interests or making lookalike audiences or custom audiences or uploading email lists, and all of that stuff can still help. But Facebook's ad targeting I don't say it's pretty much run by AI, but it's pretty dialed in. So whenever you upload your video and you add your headline and your description and the copy, it's going to search for people that kind of that fit or resonate with the ad that you make. So the only thing that you really have to do is location. So obviously you want to tell Facebook, if you're a small business, where you want it to advertise. So I have Tampa, Florida here. Now I have a radius of 25 miles. You can make it smaller or bigger, obviously, depending on, if you want to advertise to everybody within 30 minutes or 40 minutes, just select the radius that you're okay with. You can also do zip codes. Like if you want to be super specific, you can look up every zip code. Like let's say you're in Tampa, but you're over here by Largo or Clearwater and you don't want people from Lakeland, then you can kind of put in all the zip codes that you want to target. Now, this is one thing very important. If you're a small local business, always uncheck this box, because what happens is it says reach more people likely to respond to your ads. But underneath it says we'll also show ads to people interested in your selected cities and regions. Keyword, interested. We want people living in that location, not interested. There's a lot of people that are interested in Tampa, whether they like the Buccaneers or whatever the case is, they want to go on vacation there. We don't want people interested. We want people living in that location. So uncheck that. And now if you do want to add custom audiences, or you have an email list that you can upload, and you can watch other videos on that, or you have a pixel on your website already, which is getting information you want to make look like audiences, you can add that as well. All you have to do is go down here and you can suggest an audience or further limit the reach of your ad. So if I click on that, it's gonna ask me to, give me a little pop up. They say, "Are you sure you want to do this?" So we can switch that up, and this is where we can either include custom audiences, where if you have like I just mentioned, a lookalike audience or whatever, you can add that here, or detailed targeting. So this is where you can get into interests and different behaviors, demographics, or whatnot. So if you want to advertise to a set age group, a set gender, you can do that here. And then this is where you put interest in. So if you're, Facebook's going to know, but if you're only advertising to golfers, it doesn't hurt to select golf as a sport, people that are interested in golf. And then you can select, men over the age of 30 or 40 or whatever you want to do. This helps a little bit, but Facebook's targeting is pretty good, and they're going to know that as is. And again, you can have this as a suggestion. We'll also show that to similar audiences when it's likely to improve performance. I just kind of leave that checked. When you go down here to placements, just leave this as is. Facebook just asking you, where do you want your ads placed? And the Advantage Plus just chooses. So whether it's on Instagram, Instagram feed, or marketplace, or whatnot, there's letting Facebook choose is generally the best course of action. So just to summarize, this is pretty simple. Just put a name on your ad set name, choose instant forms, assuming that's what you want to go for. You select your page, maximize number of conversion leads, go down here, dynamic creative on if you have a bunch of videos you want to run at the same time for the same ad. Go down here to audiences. You can have it set like I did before, which is just telling Facebook, hey, find people that'll kind of resonate with the ad. Or you go in, you make sure you add your location, age restrictions, gender changes or what, and then you can add detailed targeting if you want, like if you're advertising a golf option or something like that, or a runner, running or CrossFit or whatever. Now you get to the ad portion. So again, because this account is not used, this is where you can actually create the ad. So it's going to ask you to name it. It's going to ask you what page are you running it from, and then make sure that you have your Instagram account connected. That's just general business practice, so that when you run an ad on Instagram, because again, Facebook Ads Manager is all encompassing. So this is for Instagram and Facebook, and even Threads. But make sure you have that. And then when you go down here to create an ad, you're just adding a single image or video. And it's going to ask you the instant form. So there's plenty of videos to watch on how to create an instant form in your business account. Super simple. Go ahead and do that. And then you go down to add creative. So I just added an image of a semi truck, but this is where, if I hit the trash can, it'll just say upload, and you get to upload your image. And then it's because I have dynamic creative off, it's only asking for one. So if I turn dynamic creative on, I could upload 10, either 10 images or 10 videos, and it would use all of them. And it would run all the, the images or videos with the copy and the headlines and stuff that you create. So when I say copy, I'm talking about primary text. So whatever you see at the top of the ad is going to be here. So I have the ad preview on so you can see it. But hey, Tampa, and this is where use ChatGPT or Grok or whoever you use, and you can even obviously look at other companies that are doing a good job and put primary text, everything above the ad. And then there's the headline portion, which is almost as, if not more important, which is the bold section right below your ad next to this button that they're going to see. So attention runners, obviously that's not super specific, but this is where you want to grab people's attention. So again, ChatGPT is so great for this. Just give it all the information and it'll give you really good headlines, and then description, which is underneath the headline. Not as important because it's not bold and it's smaller, but still, gives people information about the ad. This is the call to action button. So most of the time, if you're a PT or a local business, you're going to have learn more. Now, if you're a company that cuts lawns or does window washing or whatever, you could have get a quote. potentially or get in touch, but learn more is usually what most people do, just because it's kind of less, it's not as strong of a kind of commitment. Oh, I just want to learn more versus a lot of people don't want to tap on get quote because that kind of sounds like they're already agreeing to something or it's a more serious, I guess, call to action, I would say. So we just have to learn more. And then this also, so whenever you do create your form, this is where it's going to be. So just tap on the form that you created, and that's where all your traffic is going to go. They're going to answer the questions, and all the leads that come through, you'll be able to see in Ads Manager, a lot of places actually, but in Ads Manager for one, or in your business Meta Business Suite, you can see all the leads that come through. It gives you all their answers, their name. And if you have a CRM like HubSpot or something else, you can connect them. Most of the time, Facebook has a direct integration with HubSpot and whatnot, or you can use an app called Zapier. Again, plenty of YouTube videos on how to do that. But the basics are super easy to set up. Like now more than ever, creating campaigns. 5-7 years ago, there used to be a lot of the targeting that you had to do, the interest targeting, and all of that stuff made a huge difference. Now, not so much. It's all about the image or video that you're running, the copy that you come up with and descriptions, headlines, primary text, and like that's obviously key. But what's more important than all of that is the processes that you have in place as a business owner to follow up with these leads and actually close them, and making sure you have a profitable offer. Based on what I've seen, leads are going to cost anywhere from, depending on where you're at, obviously, if you're in New York City or a really expensive area, they might cost $75 to $100, maybe even higher. If you're in kind of a cheaper area, when I helped out a Cash PT, I saw ads, leads within the $20 to $40 range. So then you got to run your numbers. If I'm paying $40 for a lead, I'm closing 20% of them. I'm paying $200 to acquire a customer. Is that profitable? Or I have a 10% close rate. My lead cost is $40. I'm paying $400 to acquire a lead. Is it profitable? These are questions you have to ask yourself, and that's the most important part. But most local business owners do not have a good follow-up system in place. You are going to have to contact these leads between 10 and 15 times on average. Let me say that again. You'll have to contact these leads between 10 and 15 times on average to get to a final resolution. As in, you might call somebody, which happens sometimes, and they say, "Oh, Joseph, thanks so much for calling. My back really hurts. I would love to get in tomorrow and pay your $3,000. I can't wait." That does happen every now and then. A lot of the times, you'll get people that don't answer to text messages, to phone calls, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. There's nothing wrong with that. People are busy. I think business owners have this sense of entitlement that somebody filled out a lead form that they should automatically answer their calls. That's not the case. You have to sell a little bit. Or you might call somebody, leave a voicemail, they call back like 10 to 15 times before you after 15, I would say a lead is done. It's, let them go. It's not worth the time. But just know that you're going to have to put in that work to make this profitable. And that's another thing. Even if these agencies get you leads, if you're not ready, or I don't want to say trained, but if you call leads 2 or 3 times and give up, it's not necessarily the agency's fault that you're not making money. Like a lot of this is on you as the business owner. So just know that going in. And also you got to have a good offer. That's the most important part. Bad offers are impossible to make profitable running ads. It's just not doable. So keep that in mind. Another thing that Peter does really, really well, and which I see most companies doing a terrible job of, is he already has a social following, which makes running ads easier. So if you have, no followers on Instagram or Facebook, no content, you have no testimonials and barely any Google reviews, why would you start running Facebook ads when you can do all that other stuff I just mentioned for free? For example, if you go to his Instagram, 13,500 followers, tons of amazing content. He posts all the time, client reviews, 5 stars, funny memes. He does a fantastic job at this. And when you're running paid ads on Facebook and Instagram, a lot of times those people click on your page. And if you're running an ad and they click on your page and come to no followers, no content, like ads are a sunk cost. If you spend $1,000, $1,000 is gone. So you have to make sure that whether you have landing pages designed or you make sure you have people to follow up with those leads. And the biggest thing is having a lot of great organic content so people can kind of scroll through. And what also happens a lot of times is if you spend $1,000 on Facebook for lead ads, let's assume your CPM, which stands for cost per thousand, is $20. That means that for every $20 you spend, 1,000 people, you'll get 1,000 impressions. It doesn't mean that all 1,000 people click on your ad. It just means you'll get 1,000 impressions. So if you're spending $1,000, that means you're getting 50,000 impressions on your ad. So one of the long-term benefits of running Facebook ads is that you get more brand awareness. It's not all about, I spent $1,000, I got 50 leads, which is $20 a lead. There's also, a downstream benefit of spending that money. And to capture that, you got to have content that people can watch, or they might turn into followers and they'll call you back 3 months later after they've seen a bunch of your posts and whatnot. So make organic content. You have PTs that have time to do it. Most of you have a gym, have a location. There's tons of amazing examples of content you can make. It doesn't take a lot of time. So definitely do that. But also, a lot of people, specifically for local businesses, they're going to Google you. He has 469 Google reviews, and it's a 5-star review. I don't know if he has any 1 stars, but 5 stars, 469 reviews, that says a lot. So again, if you have a crap website and you're running ads, you're wasting money. If you have no Google reviews, no Google business profile, you're just, it's just not smart. So work on that stuff first. Like he does, obviously, that's all part of it. So to summarize, setting up the actual ads is pretty easy. It's everything else that kind of makes or breaks a deal if you're going to make money or not. Now, some of you guys asked about agencies. One thing to keep in mind, let's say you have organic content, you have a Google business profile, a lot of reviews, like you have all this stuff already done. Part of the reasons I don't say anti-agency, but I'm skeptical is because the numbers are not in your favor most of the time. And here's why. Most small businesses are not spending a lot of money on ads, but it still takes a lot of time from the agency's perspective. They need to make money, obviously, to service your account. So versus, I've spent millions on Facebook ads. And for people that spend as much as I do, or businesses that I've been a part of, if I spend $100,000 a month, when I go to an ad agency, the standard market rate, depending on which one you go to and what all they have to do, is they charge as a percentage of ad spend. So if I'm spending $100,000 a month, they might charge me between 6%, 7% on the low end, up to 15% on the high end. So again, that's a lot of money. That's $6,000 or $7,000, upwards of $12,000, $14,000. But it's all about percentages. They're charging, let's say, 10% of ad spend. So I'm spending $100,000. They're spending $100,000 for me. I'm paying them $10,000. Problem with local small businesses, if you're spending $5,000 a month, or even $3,000 a month on ad spend, an agency might charge you $2,000 a month because they still have a similar amount of work with creating these campaigns, giving you ideas for videos and images and whatnot. They have to talk with you, all the back and forth, employee time. Like it does cost money to do that. So if you're paying $2,000 a month to an agency, but they're only spending $4,000 a month, that means that your percentage of ad spend that you're paying to, I've got to stop sharing my screen. Percentage of ad spend that you're paying to an agency is 50%. And it's like, think about that. You give them $2,000 and they spend $4,000, on Facebook. So 50% of it is already gone. Like the ads have to be incredibly profitable, which is very hard in this day and age. For you to actually make money when you include what you're spending on Facebook or Google and what you're paying them. So that's why for small business owners, especially, running ads on your own, most of the time is is the best bet. It's also a great, skill to learn, so you don't have to always pay people. Um, so yeah, just keep that in mind. Now, when it comes to creative, again, Facebook ad library, you can watch and see what everybody's doing. But if you just make an image in Canva, uh, probably not going to have successful results. It takes time. It takes split testing. You have to know what works and what doesn't work. And this is where I think people give up too soon. They want to spend $1,000, $2,000 a month on ads. They say it didn't work. No, you just didn't put enough effort in and try long enough. Like, I've been running ads since high school. I have some friends that run $100 million e-commerce brands that spend millions and millions, and you would be shocked at the amount of videos they have to create and the amount of testing. Now, granted, they're spending millions of dollars, so it's harder to do that, but their return on ad spend might only be 2 to 3. So spend $1 million, get 2 million, get 3 million. And if you look at their margins, they still might be profitable, but it's not like they're just making an obscene amount of money. They make their money on the back end after they've already acquired this customer by selling them more items, new products, and whatnot. So this notion that you can just spend $1,000, on Facebook ads and go get 5,000, go get 7,000, it doesn't work that way anymore. It's still definitely worth your time, and it's an amazing opportunity and platform for the simple reason that it has unlimited scale. So, Facebook ads by itself can 2x your company overnight, because if you have the systems in place, you make the lead forms, you have the right videos, you have the right images, and you're hammering these leads 10 to 15 times, like you're actually doing what you need to do to make them profitable. If you find yourself in a scenario where you spent 5,000 and you got back $20,000 in revenue and you're profitable, you can then go spend another $50,000 on Facebook. Like, there's unlimited amount of money that you can spend. So it's definitely worth it, to give it a shot. And you don't even have to spend a ton. If you want to spend $500 a month, go do it. Like, I'm not a big fan of agencies, just given the numbers are just not in your favor. Given what they charge, given how little you're spending, it's very, very hard for them to make you money. Given all those things, unless the videos, the landing pages, you're handling leads effectively. Like, a lot goes into it. So if you have any questions, feel free to comment below. I'll make sure to answer them, or maybe I'll do a live Q&A if you really want me to. But hope this helps, and thanks again for your time.